friends, this is Miss Ann here at the Warminster Township Free Library, and welcome back to another book talk here on this wonderful Friday. Today we're going to be talking about a book called The Other Side of Luck by Ginger Johnson. The Other Side of Luck is a really sweet middle grade fantasy novel that centers around two characters from completely different walks of life. We have Una, who is a princess, and Julian, the son of a poor herbalist. The story is told in alternating chapters from different characters' point of views. So it starts with Julian's and then goes to Una's. And then there are other characters that are introduced who also get chapters around them. And it centers around Una and Julian, who are the main characters, and their collective journey to find a rare silva flower as part of a contest that is set up by Una's father. And there's a prize at the end and a reward. Even though they are both looking for the same flower and thus the same reward, their intertwining destinies offer both of them a feeling of belonging. So what we're going to do is we're going to read a little bit from the book. I'm going to read two chapters. They're very small, about a page each, because we want to get a good perspective of Julian and Una and give you guys a sense of what this book is about. So chapter 1, Julian. In a small stone dwelling on the edge of the city Antiquitilla, a child waited to be born. The child who would become Julian knew the rhythm of his mother's heartbeat, the music of her blood flowing through her veins. He knew the trot of her footsteps and the creaking of her chair as she sat down. He knew the muted music of her voice. It was the tune he'd heard while floating, enfolded within her. But on this particular spring morning, the sound changed. Her heartbeat sped up. Her footsteps slowed down. There were cries of pain, and the steady hum of his existence was traded for a shockingly loud sound. When Julian recognized that the sound came from him, he grew quiet and still, searching for his mother's heartbeat. From above, he heard the low whine of the wind whistling through the cracks in the doorway. From below came the sound of a beetle scuttling across the floor. From left and right came the steady vibrations of life, an unrelenting swirl of sound, a tree stretching upward, a sparrow settling into her nest, a flower bursting into bloom. None of it was the familiar and comforting sound of his mother. Her hum had faded into silence, leaving a void that the small infant Julian did not understand. Into that void, Julian heard another heartbeat, one similar to his mother but larger. If a sound could be larger, that heartbeat came with a pair of broad, steady hands that scooped up Julian and held him close. This gentle touch should have been comforting, but another sound emerged from this person with the large hands, a sound that was jagged and fragmented. The sound settled into Julian's heart, sensitive and new. It was too much to bear alone for either of them, and so little Julian began to cry with him, his voice ragged and uncertain, but growing in intensity. The two grieved, their broken hearts knit together by sorrow. So chapter 2 is now Una's perspective. In the center of the city of Antiquitilla, at the official residence of the Magister Populi, another child, a girl, was born in a more efficient birth and to grander circumstances. On Una's first day of life, she inhaled 85,324 breaths, and in each of those breaths, she drew in a new scent, the sunlight dancing on leaves, the water tinkling in the fountain, the blood pumping through her heart. She could smell an excitement surrounding her. Though she didn't understand what it meant, not yet knowing she was the first child of the Magister Populi. On that day, one scent rose above all the others that flickered around her. It was a scent that blanketed her with feathered softness. It was a scent of sanctuary, a scent of the divine, like an archangel had just flown by. It was the scent of her mother's love, and it had her attention until her father, the Magister Populi, came to see her. His laugh rose from deep inside as he studied her face, her little toes and her tiny fingers, curling and uncurling. Although Una wished she could control her fingers, the smell of her father's laughter was almost as delicious as that of her mother's love, and she was delighted by it. It was, however, the holy scent of her mother's love that accompanied her as she learned to sit, then stand, then walk. This was a steady scent that traveled with her as she grew as she grew, explored the gardens, went to her lessons, and wandered through the hallways and courtyards of the official residence. When 6 years had passed, Una noticed that her mother's scent shifted slightly. It was a subtle change, as if the archangels flew a little lower, and indeed her mother's panels of silk seemed to grow more voluminous than they already were, and her belly gradually pushed outward. Una didn't understand what this meant. She only knew that there was no room for her to sit on her mother's lap anymore. Days before Una turned 7, her mother said to her, "Dear one, tomorrow I will go to the birthing room, and a baby will join us. You will always be my dear one, though." "You will come back?" asked Una, placing her hand on her mother's belly, her brown skin a contrast to the pink silk. "Oh yes, dear one, I will come back." But she didn't come back. Not all day, not the next day or the next. Una asked Ovid, the man who served her mother, when she would return. "Your mother won't be coming back," he had said. "Well, why not?" "She is gone, child," he said in a soft voice, and he pulled her into her arms, where his familiar scent surrounded her like a covering of warm syrup. All that her mother left behind was a squalling baby boy, who was whisked off to the nursery to be cuddled and raised as the next Magister Populi, far from his older sister. So as you can see already, they both have kind of a similar, maybe slightly different upbringing, but there is some similarities in their story. This is a book that is perfect for fans of Adam Gidwit's The Inquisitor's Tale. If you are familiar with that book, we do have it at the library. It's a good read-alike for this, so if you've read that book. And this book is geared for children in grades 3 to 4, but I think 3 to 5 would get a lot, grades 3 to 5 would really get a lot out of this. And again, as I mentioned, it's a fantasy, a middle grade fantasy. So if you're looking for a good fantasy novel, this Christmas season, you might want to pick up The Other Side of Luck by Ginger Johnson. Alright, so we're done here with our book talk. We hope that you guys enjoyed these. We may be back in the new year with some more. We always are getting new books coming in, so we hope that you guys will check out all the books that are coming in to our collection. And as always, we hope to see you very soon at the Warminster Township